And now it's time for the Long Box Review Long Distance Dedication. This next song goes out to Amelia. Keep dancing, little one. And thank you. Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com, and welcome to my Tales to Astonish episode. This is where I'm going to take a look at some newer Marvel comics that I have been reading, and also some newer independent comics as well, because I only have a few Marvel comics to talk about, unlike the DC episode that I did just recently. So go back and listen to that if you haven't already to hear about some newer DC comics that I've read. But this is not about DC. This is about the other publishers' books that I have been reading. And like I said, I got a few Marvel here, so I'll start with them. And first up is Fantastic Four, the return of the Fantastic Four. And this is being brought to us by Dan Slott as the writer, along with artists Sarah Pichelli, Stefano Caselli, and Aaron Cooter. And so I have read up through issue 7. So 1 through 7 of this book. And like I said, we get the Fantastic Four returning after a too long absence. But is the return worth it? And I have to say, I don't know. I guess it depends on how much you like the Fantastic Four, because while I like the book, it just hasn't wowed me, which is too bad because I really like the Fantastic Four as a concept. I particularly like Sue Richards, the Invisible Woman. I fell in love with her during the Jonathan Hickman written run of the Fantastic Four and FF from several years ago. And I've been kind of, toying with the Fantastic Four ever since. I got a few of the issues of the book right before it ended. I've heard that the Chip Zdarsky Marvel 2-in-1? Yeah, Marvel 2-in-1 book was really, really good, and so I plan on getting that, or I have ordered it. I don't remember if it's come out in trade yet, but anyway, I'm going to get that and read it because I like the Thing as well. I actually purchased digitally a couple Thing collections, collecting his own series from the early to mid 80s, I think it was. Anyway, this was after Secret Wars, that book. But anyway, I like I said, I enjoyed this book. It hasn't really wowed me. I did enjoy issue 3, I think it was, where Reed Richards was summoned somehow through his super scientifically ways. He summoned all of the past members of the Fantastic Four over the years, and I thought that was a pretty cool moment, seeing all those characters in the book, helping them out with the baddie of that issue, and seeing I've already forgotten who that is. Then there was the wedding issue, which was okay. I mean, it was a wedding issue. It was nice to see Ben and Alicia finally tie the knot after decades of this relationship, on and off again relationship, and that was fine. And then what came next was the Doctor Doom story, which hasn't wrapped up yet, but I quite honestly was considering dropping the book after the wedding issue, but I'd already pre-ordered it, at least that first issue of the new Doom storyline, and so I thought I would get that, finish that up at the very least. And while that is still my plan, I actually don't plan to continue with the series after that, because looking ahead at what was being solicited, it's not something that I care to. It hasn't wowed me enough to keep me on the book. So after that storyline ends, I'll be dropping Fantastic Four, unfortunately, at least for now. That's kind of my new mantra with comics, is that buy them if they are entertaining me, and then drop them if they're not. come back to them when I find out things have changed, either from the creator standpoint or the direction of the book itself, in terms of the story. And also, if I hear from certain trusted readers that I have in my life, that I might revisit a book. But for now, Fantastic Four is out. A returning favorite, at least so far, is the new Superior Spider-Man book from Christos Gage and Mike Hawthorne. I've only read up through issue 3. This was a book that the previous volume of this book, which was, if I remember correctly, was written by Dan Slott, which is why I also wanted to pick up Fantastic Four, because what I read of Superior Spider-Man before, I really enjoyed that. While this is not written by Dan Slott, the Christos Gage written book so far has been really good. Like I said, I really enjoyed the previous volume. It made me kind of fall in love with Doc Ock. Because he was because of the take that Slott and company did with that character, slowly turning him into trying to be a better man and more a hero. And I was really fascinated by and really enjoyed that journey. So I was very disappointed when they canceled that series. But Doc Ock is back. Some things have happened since I last read about the Superior Spider-Man, and it turns out that he has, I guess, a cloned body from Peter Parker, or something like that. Anyway, but he's back as the Superior Spider-Man, but he's going by a different name. I can't remember what his name is, but it's still the same attitude. And that's the part I really like. So yeah, so Doc Ock is back, or should I say, I was going to say back better than ever, or should I say superior than ever? Anyway, like I said, he has the same great arrogant attitude, still trying to do the superhero thing, be better than he was. And that's still a story, that's still a trope that really appeals to me. In this book, though, he is employing a group. I wouldn't call them a super villain group, but I mean they're not they're not a superhero team, but they're a group of powered individuals that he has hired to help him. And so even though they were, I guess, kind of doing not so great things, but him hiring them to do what he wants them to do, which is to help save the city. I think is he in San Francisco now? That's what my memory is telling me. I hope that's correct. But he's in a different area. They're exploring a different locale of the Marvel Universe, which that's something I always appreciate. It's actually one of the things I love about the DC Universe is that we get all these different areas. It's not just, New York based like most of Marvel, but he's already influencing other individuals. I mean, it's only 3 issues in, so we're not really seeing a whole lot yet. And, they're hired guns. So maybe I'm putting too much onto it, too much importance on this aspect of it, but I kind of hope we see that going forward. Also, very important is that the character of Maria Marconi is back in the book, and that was a character that was in Superior Spider-Man, and she fell in love with the Peter Parker that Doc Ock was, whose mind Doc Ock was, or no, whose body Doc Ock was inhabiting at that time, and they developed a relationship, but then things. Peter Parker returned, of course, and so some other things have happened. So I've missed some stuff, and so I'm slowly catching up with what happened before or that I did not read in this book. So Mr. Gage and Mr. Hawthorne and the other creative members of the team are, bringing in these elements and telling these interesting stories. So for now, I'm on there. Oh, and then issue number 3 I thought was really cool because we got Doc Ock possessed the power cosmic very briefly, and it was really cool the way that he did that. That's the other thing I like about this book is that they're really hyping up the pseudoscientific aspects of the Marvel Universe here in this character, and I really like that. And then finally, as far as Marvel goes, another returning book. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. All 3 of these are returning champions, if you will. This is The Unstoppable Wasp, written by Jeremy Whitley. This time art instead of the lovely Elsa Chartier, who was on the previous volume, at least for most of it. This is the team that is known as Gurihiro. I always have trouble saying that, which is a duo that has done some other work for Marvel and some other things as well. But I didn't realize it was a duo, actually. I thought this was an artist until I was doing some research here to prepare for this episode. But so I've read up through issue 5 of this series, and I, much like the Superior Spider-Man, I really fell in love with the Unstoppable Wasp in the previous volume. Of course, a large part of that had to do with the art. Like I said, the Elsa Chartier's art. But the Gurihiro, boy, the art there has been an interesting change. It's at first I wasn't all that keen on it because I was so in love with the other artists' rendition of these characters, but it's growing on me. I think mostly I didn't care for the. I kind of think of it as a little too cartoony. I don't mean that pejoratively. It's just because it's all cartoony, really, in terms of comics. But it has the kind of like the large manga style eyes and just kind of a general. It gave me a general anime style vibe, I guess. And that's not an art form that I'm all that particularly interested in, but I really need to expand my horizons. I've actually never read a manga book, and I really should try that out. But anyway, that aside, I've really been enjoying this book immensely. It's great that Jeremy Whitley is still writing the book, so you get that continuity with the writing and with the characters. Nadia is one of the new delights of the Marvel Universe in the last several years. And then you have the supporting characters, all of her friends. And you've got Janet Van Dyne in the book more prominently now as the mother figure, and so I like that relationship that they're starting to examine. So this volume is a little different because for the most part the previous volume was about Nadia and her adventures and developing the agents of Girl, and bringing in the 4. I think there's 5 now, right? 5 of the other Girl characters. And in the previous volume, Jarvis played a kind of a father figure role, but he's barely in this book. And that's one of the things I hope that they return to is developing that father-daughter type relationship between Nadia and Jarvis, as well as the mother-daughter situation with Janet and Nadia. So that'll be an interesting dynamic between those 3 characters if they develop that, continue to develop that. I really, really like the pseudoscientific aspects that they're exploring with these characters in this book. And they've recently thrown in the fact that Nadia, I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. I like what they've done with it, but it seems a bit derivative considering that they do play up this whole aspect that with Nadia being bipolar, I think that's what they were diagnosing her as, not technically, but that's what they were saying, because she's much like her father, the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym. So that's where the derivative part comes in, but how Whitley and the artists portrayed that with Nadia, I thought that was really well done. More importantly, she has the support of her friends and Janet. I just love really love the family aspects of this book. In fact, this is more of a family oriented unit comic book than I think even Fantastic Four. And don't throw things at me for saying that, but I really am connecting a lot more with that aspect of Unstoppable Wasp than I did with Fantastic Four. So I will be continuing with the Unstoppable Wasp. I also, when Marvel offered this, they published 2 collections of the previous volume. And while I have the issues, I did buy those trades because I love it so much. And I also want to have my granddaughter Madison read those books because I really think she will enjoy those. So I'm anxiously awaiting the first volume trades to come in so we can read those and maybe even talk about them here on the show. All right, those are the 3 Marvel books that I have. And I've got 3 more books here from different publishers. Then the first one is from Boom, and this is the new series Firefly from Greg Pak and Dan McDade. I have read up through issue 4 at this point, and I just have to say, I'll preface this by saying I love Firefly. Joss Whedon's Firefly / Serenity. For a while there, you could say I was mildly obsessed with the show. Which is ironic because at first I didn't really care for him. Like, what is this space western thing that Joss Whedon is doing? But I totally still am in love with Buffy and Angel. Not so much the other show that he did, Dollhouse, but that's okay. But Firefly, boy, I loved that show to the point where there were only 14 episodes that were filmed, 11, I think, that aired. So, really short, but it really made an impression on me. I bought a bunch of related product. I even bought a few of the comics that they put out over the years. I got a bunch of books. I got some posters. I got a cutaway map of Serenity up on my wall. Anyway, like I said, I love Firefly. So when I saw that this was announced and I saw that it was by Greg Pak, I thought, well, I got to try it out. Plus, it was going to the series is examining that time frame between the end of the series and the only movie, Serenity. So I kind of wanted to, because they're filling in the blanks. They're expanding the stories involving these characters, and on top of that, so they're examining what happens, after the war that Mal and Zoe participated in. The Civil War with the Alliance. And, basically their past is coming back to haunt them. And it's been an interesting story so far as to how their actions affect what's going on now. So I'm looking forward to that kind of wrapping up, but then more important, what comes next? What part of the verse is this team going to explore? The only thing I don't really care for about this is McDade's art. It's fine, but it's not particularly my taste. I did really like the cover to issue 4. Mostly, showing it looks like a town that Serenity is flying over in silhouette, and then there's I think they're trying to evoke blood that's kind of going down the cover, and so it because they were talking about the massacre at Serenity Valley. I think that's what they're trying to evoke. Anyway, I just like the image of it is really what I'm trying to say. Next is from Dynamite. This is a book also written by Greg Pak. This is the James Bond series with art by Mark Laming and Stephen Mooney, and I've read up through issue 4 on this as well. And so this, I've read the previous series that they did, James Bond Vargur, and they've done several of these miniseries featuring James Bond. And I haven't read them all. I'm really curious to read, or really wanting to read, James Bond Origin, because I think that's written by... Oh, I'm blanking on who it's written by, but it's someone that I like. So I'll be getting that in trade probably. But for now, I'm getting just the James Bond 007 book. And what they've decided to do is introduce Oddjob into this new version of James Bond. And, that is, of course, one of the strengths of James Bond, is that they, just much like Doctor Who, they can reinvent this character continually into different eras, and get, have new takes on things. And we're all fine with it. So it's interesting because Doctor Who and James Bond, both British properties, and they have this continual regeneration of the character throughout the years. So that's really fascinating. But this James Bond seems to me to be a kind of a blend of the Sean Connery looking Bond, but with more of a modern sensibility, more like a Daniel Craig type era, I guess. And I say that admitting full well that I have not seen all of the James Bond movies. I have not seen any of the Roger Moore, nor the Timothy Dalton movies. I've only seen one of the Brosnan films so far. I've seen all the Daniel Craig ones, and I love those. And I have watched now 5 of the Connery films, and I did see the Lazenby one years ago. So, which is to say, I'm not an expert on this. I don't have enough of the history or exposure to James Bond to really say this, but so far my impression is that it's more of it's kind of a mashup between Connery and the way that he looks and sort of his sensibilities. But like I said, it's set in a more modern time. And like I said before, they brought in Oddjob, and not in the same way in which he was introduced in Goldfinger, which I thought, I'm really liking this take. In Goldfinger, he's just like this big guy who doesn't say hardly anything at all. He mostly just kind of grunts, and he's menacing, and he throws this hat that can kill you. And that's Oddjob in Goldfinger. But in this story so far, he is a spy who is as versatile and suave and interesting as James Bond himself. In fact, he comes across a little more interesting than James Bond in the story, which that's kind of you got to be careful of that. When the main character of your book, your comic book, is James Bond, he has to be the most interesting person in that book. And right now he's not. I almost want to read more about Oddjob. So we'll see where that ends up, but I'm really liking it so far. I will say Mark Laming did the art on the first 3 issues, and I really like that. And I will say I miss him on issue 4. I missed him on issue 4, so I'm hoping that Laming comes back to this book. I prefer his take on these characters, but anyway. And I will also add, considering that Pac is like I said, he's doing Firefly, and this book, it really shows his versatility in being able to write for existing properties, adapting these TV and film properties to comic books. So he if you haven't read Greg Pak's stuff, maybe you should check him out. And then finally, from Image is The Return of Criminal from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. So we get another Brubaker Phillips collaboration returning to their well-known and well-loved series Criminal. This is, however, a slightly different take on what they did before. Well, kind of. Well, yeah, it's a slightly different take. So This is single issue stories. Brubaker has said that he wants to do more single issue type stuff or very short stories. So I think did I say this already? So far I've read up through issue 2. There is a 2 issue. So the first issue was a standalone story coming back to character of Teague Lawless in issue 1, and Teague was in a couple previous volumes of Criminal, and but the second issue, and I don't remember. I don't know if the characters in that are. I'm sure they are. They've appeared before, but I don't know that for sure because I've only read a couple, I think 2 or 3 volumes of Criminal. I have a bunch of the trades. There are 3, maybe 4 that I haven't read yet. And so it's going to be interesting to read this series about characters that I haven't read yet. But they've appeared in the other volumes of Criminal that I've read, at least some of them. I do remember Teague from I think the first volume and some other stuff later that I read. But I'm jumping all around here. Sorry about that. But like I said, the second issue has to do with the comic book industry, which and supposedly the issue 3 is the second part of this. So I'm looking forward to that, reading that. But I really enjoyed that take. It's like kind of like the underbelly of the comic book industry and a little bit of pseudo history thrown in, and of course Brubaker said in his newsletter that. Or was it the letters page, his letters page to the reader in the second issue? This is not based on any particular actual events or people. It's kind of a mashup of things that he's heard and that he's extrapolating on, which, is called writing. That's what fiction is really. So, but regardless, I don't care to know if this character or this situation is based on, real events. I just like the story and the way that Brubaker and Phillips portray these situations, these characters. I have been a fan of their work forever, and I'm just very happy to see Criminal returning to my long boxes. So, very much looking forward to seeing more of this and what stories we get. It's just great stuff. So if you haven't picked up Criminal, I highly recommend it. I would say if you like James Bond and Firefly, you should pick those up. If you are looking for something new and interesting to read, well, newer in terms of Unstoppable Wasp, if you're looking for good stories featuring interesting characters, young women dealing with being superheroes or, super scientists, that's the book for you. And Superior Spider-Man is just a hoot. Otto Octavius is just, in his current incarnation, he's just a hoot. Going back to that, sorry. Again, I'm just jumping all around. It's lack of sleep, folks. I stayed up way too late watching James Bond movies. And then woke up way too early, but that doesn't stop me from just rambling everywhere. If comics are true to form, Dr. Octopus will return eventually, and that will be a sad day for me because I much prefer this Dr. Octavius, or whatever he's calling himself now. The superior. It's hard to say. Superior Spider-Man is what I should call him. But anyway, so there you go. Those are some newer comics from Marvel and some independent publishers as well that I'm recommending you should pick up. You should pick up Fantastic Four for that matter if you like Fantastic Four. And now I'm just repeating myself, so I should sign off. Oh my God, this is a crazy episode for me. Anyway, thanks for listening through all this rambling and whatnot. If you would like, I would very much appreciate if you could let me know what you think of these books, if you've read them and you have thoughts about them, or if you listen to this and you go check them out and would like to send me feedback, please do so. Email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. Visit longboxreview.com if you would like as well. You can leave comments there. And you can also chat with me on Twitter at longboxreview. And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.